What's up, guys? It's Zero here, bringing you all a brand new Gears of War E-Day video. So let's get into it. So guys, we've been talking a lot about Gears of War E-Day and from multiplayer to campaign to the different co-op modes. I want to talk and dive into the characters that could very well be in Gears of War E-Day's multiplayer. And this really leads us into an interesting element because Gears of War E-Day is taking us back before Gears of War 1. And so obviously we know there's Marcus and Dom, but what other characters are going to make their way here into this title that could be represented in multiplayer and things of that nature? Or is the Coalition going to draw from, characters that came decades later into the Gears of War franchise and pull some of those characters into the multiplayer as like playable characters and things of that nature? Let's talk about it. So guys, in an article that's coming to us from Game Rant and Eric Warner over there, Xbox's Gears of War franchise has long been celebrated for both its campaigns and its multiplayer. The original Gears of War trilogy is often regarded as some of the best exclusive games for the Xbox 360 and the overall 7th console generation. Meanwhile, Gears of War 1's multiplayer was so popular on the Xbox 360 that it rivaled the likes of Halo 2 as the most popular multiplayer game until the release of Halo 3. With the upcoming release of Gears of War E-Day, however, the Coalition may have a difficult choice to make regarding the game's multiplayer compared to developments seen in recent Gears titles. This choice is to include only characters who appear in E-Day or include characters who appear decades later. It's an interesting talking point, and I think, guys, that there is a really good chance that Gears of War E-Day is going to be the biggest Gears of War title of all time, because it not only, we're kind of getting a sneak peek here of the future with Gears of War Reloaded is going to be on Xbox as well as PlayStation for the first time ever. And so with Gears of War Reloaded, adding Gears of War, an Xbox exclusive, to now coming to PlayStation, I believe a lot of PlayStation people are going to be playing Gears for the first time. And so when we get to Gears of War E-Day and they release that on Xbox and PlayStation as well, I believe it'll be the biggest Gears of War title of all time. I think it will certainly surpass Halo in terms of popularity and things of that nature. It could be absolutely huge for the franchise. But unlike other contemporary multiplayer games of the time, Gears of War 1's multiplayer had gamers choose to play from a selection of characters and Locust drone troops seen in the campaign. Other games of the late 2000s and early 2010s typically had players create or customize their own character based on factions or soldier types, such as Halo Spartans and Elites or Call of Duty's SAS and Spetsnaz. 2008's Gears of War 2 was the first Gears game to feature playable characters who don't appear in the game's campaign or who died in prior titles such as Anthony Carmine and General Rom. This set a precedent that would be carried over to most future Gears of War multiplayer systems. 2011's Gears of War 3 was the first game in the series to include characters in multiplayer who have never appeared in any previous Gears of War game, multiplayer or expanded media, with the introduction of the Golden Gear. Gears of War 3 additionally established the concept of DLC, introducing new multiplayer characters such as Alicia Valera and Michael Barrick from Rom's Shadow, and including variants of existing characters such as Thrashball Coltrane. 2013's Gears of War Judgment introduced the concept of characters from other games crossing over into Gears' multiplayer with the inclusion of Bulletstorm's Grayson Hunt and Trishka Novak. Similarly, 2019's Gears 5 introduced the concept of characters from films crossing over into multiplayer, such as Sarah Connor, Grace, T-800, and Rev 9 from Terminator Dark Fate. And so, what I think, guys, is there is certainly we're seeing more and more with just multiplayer games in general. It's not just Gears, but we're seeing a lot of multiplayer titles that are having crossovers with other franchises out there, whether it's like Terminator. We see Fortnite do this all the time where they have new characters coming into Fortnite, like Star Wars or whatever. Gears of War is no stranger to that. Gears of War has been doing this now for a little while, where they're integrating, characters from other IPs, other franchises. And I think it's reasonable to expect that they very well might continue to do this because it creates an element of, other ways that the studio can make money, right? They can sell these, different skins and different characters within the multiplayer, especially if Gears of War E-Day's multiplayer follows the direction of Halo Infinite, where Halo Infinite's multiplayer was free to play. If Gears of War E-Day's multiplayer is free to play, you can definitely bet that they are going to have characters from all different types of IPs, different characters from future Gears of War titles, from previous Gears of War titles. You're going to see all of them. I do believe that for sure, if it's free to play. Now, if it's not free to play, it's hard to say. I think that there's still a really good chance that they will add, characters from different IPs and do different partnerships and cross collabs and things of that nature. So in terms of like a potential character roster, well, little is currently known about Gears of War E-Day's gameplay and multiplayer, other than the Locusts are expected to appear in a more horrifying way than ever before. The Coalition will likely release some information on E-Day's gameplay soon, given that it's been almost a year since the game's announcement. While players wait for that information, it can be hypothesized who will appear on Gears of War E-Day's multiplayer roster. For most of the franchise's existence, the multiplayer systems have continuously expanded their roster with new characters, dead ones, variants, and even those who never appeared in Gears media beforehand. However, Gears of War multiplayer has only handled the issue of a prequel once before with Gears of War Judgment. Besides the short Aftermath campaigns, most of Gears of War Judgment was set roughly 14 years before the original trilogy of games. Despite this prequel setting, Judgment still included characters who would appear in later games, but only those who were active somewhere else on Sarah during Judgment's events, such as Min Young Kim. Characters who were enlisted later, such as Benjamin Carmine or Dizzy, did not appear in Judgment. Given E-Day's direction of getting back to Gears of War's roots, the Coalition may lean towards featuring only characters who were active around Emergence Day in its multiplayer. However, based on the microtransaction trend seen in Gears 5, the Coalition could include Swarm-era characters as unlocks or paid DLC. I totally agree with this, guys. I think that there's definitely going to be, there could be paid DLC. It would be really cool to see the DLC like included if you purchase the game for say $80, and that includes like the multiplayer, co-op, as well as the campaign. I would love to see, free DLC from Gears of War moving forward. I think that'd be awesome. And maybe you pay for different character skins and things of that nature. I think that would be really cool. So far, young Marcus Fenix and Dominic Santiago have been confirmed to appear in Gears of War E-Day, but more classic Gears of War characters will likely appear in E-Day's multiplayer. Based on how E-Day will take place at the beginning of the Locust War, E-Day's multiplayer could possibly feature several characters who were active at that time, such as Colonel Hoffman, Sophia Hendrick, Damon Baird, and Ty Calisso. In terms of Locust characters, the multiplayer could feature the traditional Locust drone ranks as well as Locust superiors such as General Karn, General Rom, Yukon, Scourge, and more. However, while new characters introduced in E-Day will further populate the game's roster, the Coalition could miss out on featuring some fan-favorite characters from Swarm-era titles for new fans. I think that the roster for Gears of War E-Day from launch, it's going to expand over time. I believe that they will add more playable characters. They'll add DLC and things of that nature. And I'm hoping that they do this because if they're continuing to service the game, that's good news for us as Gears of War fans. I mean, when they stop servicing Gears Esports, they stop servicing Gears 5. Obviously that led us into almost like a dark age of Gears of War. And so we definitely want them to continue to do what they need to in order to. Obviously, we don't want microtransactions that are going to be deceptive to the consumer. We don't want to see payable items over earnable items. We want the earnable items to be better than the payable items, right? I want to see things that are like really cool things that you can earn that you can't just buy or can't just pay for. I want like a lot of the stuff that you pay for to be more like cosmetic things like skins, camos for your weapons, things of that nature, but make like the really cool emblems and icons for when you're ranking up with like the different re-up icons and stuff. I want those to be really cool. Way cooler than the stuff that you can purchase. The stuff that you can purchase though, I want it to be more like cosmetic items for sure. And so that being said, with the characters that are coming into the multiplayer, I do think that the roster that starts it is going to expand over time. But let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts about the multiplayer roster you know, in terms of Gears of War E-Day, what do you think we can expect here? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more Gears of War E-Day content and videos, keep it right here.